This video tutorial focuses on the characteristics of a sports leader for leadership in sport. It follows on from the previous video, qualities of a sports leader. And throughout this tutorial, we'll be focusing again on how we can show progress, and it is important that you are mindful of these three different areas in terms of the difficulty to stretch you and challenge you in terms of what's actually required. As you're making notes on the various characteristics, certainly be aware of how you can describe from the information which is on screen and verbally expressed to you, and also importantly how you can explain. So particularly look at the images of the different types of leaders to try and provide specific examples for effective sports leadership. And I can't stress enough, specific information is needed in your examples. Further, towards the end, think about the analysis aspect. Which of the characteristics is more important than the others in relation to effective leadership across a range of different types of leaders. Here are the 7 different characteristics of sports leaders. We'll look at each one in turn. Patience is particularly important for a sports leader, as they are required to show an understanding towards the participant or participants, and this might be in relation to either their physical or mental needs. It's important for a sports leader to show emotional intelligence and remain calm and avoid showing frustration. This might be within a practical activity or sports session or even a fitness session, where participants might become frustrated because they can't do a physical skill. It might be because of something to do with their psychological framework, and particularly in terms of what they might have difficulty comprehending or understanding. And it's important here for a leader to remain calm and avoid showing frustration, certainly something in the early leadership stages. And we might look at captains remaining calm, possibly in relation to the mental needs of their teammates or group mates. Head coaches like Tracy Neville, David Rush, in their different environments as a head coach of an international team, and certainly more so Dave Rush as a head coach of a development centre. He'll need to remain calm, not show frustration, possibly give people time and not rush them if they can't understand a certain tactical aspect of a game or a training session, for example. That physical need and possibly the mental needs might be something we need to be aware of. So think specifically, physical needs, show patience. Is it relating to a fitness instructor's role specifically, and how we can break that down. Mental needs in terms of grasping tactical aspects, or certainly as an outdoor activities instructor, remaining calm within what is possibly a pressurized situation and potentially dangerous situation as well. Empathy is where a sports leader should be showing appreciation in circumstances that can be difficult for the participant due to needs within the coaching session or within the activity. If there are possible a lack of understanding or a lack of ability, but also in areas outside of the session. So we may have a primary school teacher or a physical activity leader, or even head coach of a cricket team, as we have Trevor Bayliss. They need to be aware of emotional aspects outside of sports sessions and outside of the sporting life of their participants, which might affect them, particularly their home life. It might be for a young participant, the mum and dad, there's issues at home or concerns which they have, and the sports leader should be able to show a little bit of compassion towards their participant, as an understanding with their participants, such as Trevor Bayliss, particularly as their participants or players are away from home for large parts of the calendar year. It's also important for sports leaders to show appreciation to different participants and possibly advance the activities or break them down and regress them, and that might well relate to the physical aspects of the activities, such as a physical education teacher or even a fitness trainer. One characteristic which all leaders should be is approachable. They should be welcoming and open to their participants in order to discuss matters which are of particular concern. For example, Mark Sampson would need to be available for his players to approach him and discuss any areas which they may have which are concerning, as fitness instructors should be open and approachable and have personal skills for their clients to go to them and discuss any matters regarding training and the exercises which they're undertaking. So it's important not to be intimidating, have good professional conduct, and be very friendly, as if we're looking at this image here, a captain of a team will need to have those skills for his teammates to be able to approach him or her. And we might also look at that in a number of different areas as well, in terms of the head coaches or outdoor activities instructors. It's certainly important for sports leaders to be consistent. We should expect leaders to maintain the same high standard at all times, whether that is leading a strength and conditioning session such as Louis Cunningham here, whether it is interacting with elite netballers, Tracy Neville, and certainly in situations where we have to pay particular attention and care, such as an outdoor activities instructor. It might well be that our physical instructor or our personal trainer needs to display consistency within each training session in order to motivate participants and show this consistent behaviour towards the participants at all times, whether it is individual participants or whether it is on separate training sessions across a training week or a training period like a season. A positive approach is required, and we've got to provide equality in supporting our participants here. Being goal-focused is an important characteristic of a sports leader, and we should set targets for and with participants. These can come over different stages, and these vary depending on the sport, depending on the situation and level. So we should have short-term targets which may be within a session or even a week. So a physical activity instructor or PE teacher may have a short-term target over a session, typically an objective, which we've looked at and which should be SMART. We might have medium term goals set, and these might be across the mesocycle, which could be typically a month or 6 to 8 weeks, and even span up to a season. And this depends on what area we're in. So a personal trainer or fitness instructor would look at a medium term target over a 6 to 8 or even 12-week period. Long-term targets would probably look at the season. If we're looking at a development centre coach, they might have a long-term target within the season to win the league, or other sports might look over the professional's career. So particularly if we're looking at a long-term target over a season, for example, Dave Rush, he'll need to share the targets with the team throughout the season and certainly monitor them. It might be that we have to adjust these targets in terms of things that happen which are unforeseen, so we therefore have to be flexible with these targets. But we might well set targets which are, for instance, to win the league, and we've got to try and maintain those targets throughout the season. So we've got to monitor them and adjust them wherever we can. Discretion is important for sports leaders. So we require leaders to have professionalism and an awareness of a range of considerations in relation to their participants, and sports leaders are required to be discreet in certain situations. This could come in any of the following areas, such as being aware of the confidentiality of personal information, which is similar to what a fitness instructor may have when somebody joins a gym. It might be individual bits of information which might affect a person's exercise or training. So we need to be aware of that and certainly not share it with others. We need to have an awareness of safeguarding issues. So Dave Rush certainly needs to be aware, have an awareness and be attentive to any possible indications of safeguarding areas of concern, such as if there is any signs of emotional, physical abuse to any of the players, then he's got to be aware of those in order to report them in the correct manner. Certainly sports leaders need to empathise and act appropriately with regard to personal problems such as emotional issues. Team captains might well be discreet in this manner and certainly be open and approachable for their teammates to come and share information with them in order to help them through certain situations which might affect their personal or private life, as Tony Minichiello may well have to do in any circumstances relating to Jessica Ennis. The last characteristic of a sports leader is attentive, and this is something which we might look at within the activities or within coaching sessions. Leaders should have an awareness of the needs of the participants in order to promptly support participants within physical activity sessions if they're finding things particularly difficult. And we've got to be aware of specific needs. This may be in terms of certain players' injuries in different areas. It might be with relation to activities which are potentially dangerous, such as kayaking or rock climbing, for example, for an outdoor activities instructor. And we really need to be attentive as participants are carrying out skills, but also be aware of any questions that they have beforehand and relating to safety or their understanding, in order to try and be productive within the coaching session and also safe if it is a physical activity session. In order to do this, it's important to be observant, to support and possibly mentor athletes in the case of a captain, emotionally support them through situations which are of particular importance to individuals, and provide assurance. It might be that we need to be attentive in order to praise from our observation analysis as PE teachers or sports coaches in order to provide that motivation and support to our athletes. So as we've covered the list of sports leaders' characteristics here, I'd like to be aware of the analysis aspect for the higher level of understanding. Can you select 4 of the characteristics which we've discussed and think about the reasoning as to which of those characteristics would be more important than others, and think about this in regard to the different types of sports leaders and their requirement for these various characteristics.